From chapter 50, you write, spirits are in the now, unconsciously creating or wasting time, depending upon their realization or ignorance of what their mission is. Each has the balance of doing to create, establish, or recreate. Thus, there are things each tends to do which they should not do if they think of progression, just as there are equally things each tends not to do which one ought to do if they are indeed to be freed to consciously progress. What shall be done at what level and to what degree? My question is, how can one become more aware of what they need to do or not do in terms of progression?
It really depends upon how well the individual assesses their purpose and mission, and assesses exactly where they stand with what it is that they are doing, have done, and have yet to do. So we need to stand at that place in our time world where we see what's been done, what we have done, but you have to be very responsible to the forces of your life to be able to do that. Say, yeah, I need to continue on this path, or maybe change course when I get to this reference point up ahead. See, and further my course, not as just for the purpose of moving forward, but in addition to that, stepping up. I need to step up because I see where I've been and I see I can't be there anymore. So we need to know when we need to change up and step up. Say, I have been doing this too long, there's more that I could do and I need to do. See? So we're talking about assuming the function of having a progressive mind, say, a creative mind that doesn't want to slip back and fall into a dungeon of despair because of laziness, or because of miscalculation, or because of confusion or compromise. One of the worst of the downfall mechanisms, compromising, not knowing when and where to compromise to move forward, but compromising to be thrown back in the ditch. We have to be smart, mindful, and responsible to ourselves and our relatives, our people, our loved ones. If we are progressing spirits, say, no, I can't do that anymore. I used to drink like this, that, and whatever, and whomever, I can't do that as much anymore. I need to do less so I can be more powerful in what it is that I am now having to change in my life. I have to change my game. I have to assume more responsibility because I have to be stronger for my work. I need to be clearer for my work. I need to be more accomplishment-centered. I need to do better. I need to be more productive, because doing it the way I have been doing it is obviously, in my vision, not productive enough. I'm not saying we have to be egomaniacal about it. We have to be reasonable about it. Say we can do better. How do I do better? Who do I need to talk to reinforce and support my need to do better? Let me see, who do I talk to? What do I need to read to do better in this life? Because this is the only one I have right now. I got to make this count. I have to help my people, my child, my children, my family, my mother, my father. I need to do better for them, because as I see it, no one else is doing anything for them. It's on me. I'm the only one who can do it. Who better than me should do it? Self-responsibility. And mastery. You can master what your tasks are. Find out how to do it. Do it as soon as possible. And assume more responsibility. Sooner than later.
From chapter 51, you write, spirits in progression must have spiritual freedom as the constant basis or aim of incarnated life. My question is, how does spiritual freedom differ from ordinary freedom?
Ordinary freedom isn't really ordinary freedom. See? There's no such thing as ordinary freedom, except by appearance. What are we talking about? Ordinary freedom. The freedom to have a drink, the freedom to go to the movies, freedom to buy certain kinds of food. There's no freedom in that. There's none. You're programmed to do that. You're programmed to have options. You're programmed to have preferences. Choosing between this set of preferences and these options is not really freedom at all. That's all you have. It's a freedom between choosing from blue or red. Or maybe yellow and green. Maybe you have 7 options, but that's your prison. There's no freedom there. Whereas when we speak of spiritual freedom, there are no limits to what your mind can do and where it can be. You're not bound by your body. You're not bound by your emotions. You're not bound by memories. You're not bound by your thoughts, your programming, your education, or your intellect. You're liberated from all of that. You're liberated from this world. That's what true spiritual freedom means. You are liberated into states of heaven that ordinary peeps who are gravitationally centered, functional, and attached have no access to such planes or levels of operation. They can only dream of such. So your mind is liberated, untethered. That means it's your instrument, rather than, as in the case of ordinary gravitational beings, earthlings, their minds are gravitated. And they're kept down, they're materialized, that is, held down by the forces of gravity. Not able to get up, not able to rise, not able to get beyond the body, not able to get beyond the emotions, and certainly not able to get beyond their minds. So there's a radical difference between, let's say, ordinary assumption of freedom and liberty. Sometimes, at best for most, it's a form of licentiousness. Right? The freedom to be crazy, the freedom to be stupid, the freedom to make mistakes is no freedom at all. In real freedom, you make no mistakes. Spiritual freedom means you know precisely what you have to do with no sense of bondage or limitation or impediment. You're free, clear. You're working from spirit, and spirit is all the reality is. It's not the usual stuff in the way of what spirit is and how it works. It's like a snap. And so it is. Almost as you think it is. Yeah. Almost that rapidly. It's like the speed of light, so to speak. Yeah. And so we need a lot of purification before we can get even near that. But who's ready and willing to make the sacrifice of the material to have the benefit of the spiritual to that degree? Yeah. We're talking about spiritual practice as a huge ordeal for most people.
From chapter 52, you write, many progressing spirits continue to learn about the workings of the universe as they are taken by their guides to various locations and schools or centers for spiritual development, purification, and liberation. My question is, how is it determined who one's guide is?
Well, your guide is not always your guide, as you think it is. A lot of people make others their guides, and they are guides. You know, you can create your guides. You can have somebody tell you certain things, and it could be an arrangement that is agreeable to all parties. But that may not be your actual guide. It may be a form of, let's say, a social level of guide, but not the real guide that may be behind the scenes there, who comes into action when all your obvious guides are somewhere else. See? You may enter a crisis and then see that you have guidance. You may start to know what you need to do very clearly and directly under the right pressure. See? And not even know that it's the guide happening. You might say, oh, listen, wow, under these conditions here, wow, I did this, I did that. And you may not be functioning consciously as to what is actually happening. See? It may be happening unconsciously. So the guide is also unconscious as it is conscious, and as it also is superconscious. See? In any case, we have the facility as spirits to have guidance, see? Direct guidance. But because of our karma, that is to say, the conditions that we have agreed to enter this life with, and agreed to the conditions that we have to work with and purify and, let's say, transform, say, pay our debt to, and so on and so forth. All of this is part of the process of accessing inner guidance, paying off debts and getting closer to having true power. See? And so we have to walk the path for a while before we start sensing that we are the guide itself and we don't make mistakes. We know what it is. See? But before we get to that point, we're here to make mistakes, a lot of mistakes, with guides, with help, and without help, so that we start to see that there may be some other things going on that have to do with our consciousness awareness and our spiritual purpose, our unseen, unheard, unknown, incomprehensible spiritual purpose that comes up in due time under certain conditions. And not necessarily when you're having the best of times. Will come up according to a certain kind of law. Not when you like, not when you think, not when you believe, but as it does by itself. Spirit works in strange ways. We have to understand that.
From chapter 52, you write, will incarnate spirit souls consciously or unconsciously appear to enter into transitional worlds during their sleep cycles, they are obliged to enter the real spirit world after death. This movement or progression through worlds or recognition is not limited to human spirit souls, but is also the case for planets and greater globes and their respective planetary deities and guardians as well. My question, are you saying then that the Earth and planets like it are capable of entering into different dimensions?
What I'm saying is that everything under and over the sun, or under, around, and over the sun, is subject to evolutionary processes. And that implies guidance. That implies guardians. Not obvious guardians, but let's say designated guardians that are unseen, but are part of the process of guiding souls and worlds in progression. So the solar system is in progression. The planets are in progression, so to speak, and their unseen guardians are also in progression. Just as we are in progression, our children are in progression, and our pets are in progression. See, all beings are in progression. And it's a jolly good progression, too. Yeah.
My next question is, can the planets themselves be considered guardians? Is their influence meant as a form of guidance or protection?
By assumption, yes. By design, that's relative to the individual to determine for themselves at what level guidance is real, at what level of reality is guidance real, and so on. How real is the solar system? How real is the galaxy as something to be a part of, that is to say, as part of our progression or our journey? And of course there are guardians everywhere. From the spiritualist viewpoint, the universe is full of guardians. High ones, low ones, middling ones, progressive ones. See, in dreams you find guardians. See, because we are in the universe, and thus being part of the universe, we have access to many different images and symbols that have to do with our path and our inheritance and our progression and our way forward, as well as where we've been. See, we're talking about the infinite unconscious that has all of it written in there, or the Akashic level of reality within us that we have access to. See, above the material planes, or maybe at the highest level of the material planes, we have the Akashic or space plane. See? It's like a bardo between the worlds. We have access to that. And in that we can see guardians. See, from that level we can see guardians. We can see guardians as in the case of the natives, where they see certain things in nature that they relate to animals, or let's say references in nature, mountains, special rivers, special trees, special areas, special plains. See, in their minds they're like guardians. They're symbolic of, let's say, some kind of guidance or spiritual light. See, marking, a marker for them. See, so again, we're talking about how that shows up to the individual. Some will find the leaf as a marker, some will find an insect as a marker, others will find, let's say, a color as a marker, others will find something they see in the sky as a marker. See, so the universe is a system of markers pointing the way to where one is, where one has been, and where one needs to be. It depends on how you, the individual, read that kind of phenomena, see, for yourself. See. So it's good to know what your system is in terms of interpreting your path, and what your tradition is, which may have a very set and very specific way for you to mark your path as an individual, and to see and find your guardians, be able to communicate with your guardians. But I dare say that the guardians are within you. You need only talk to them as you're speaking to me right now. Talk to them, say, dear guardian, say, I hope you are my true guardian, say, my pure guardian, with me and my best interest in your mind and your heart and in your directions. Say, guide me, please be pleased to guide me in the ways of spirit, say, and illumination and enlightenment, and hope for the best.
From chapter 52, you write, progressive incarnations provide the ground or theater wherein certain ideas and principles may be put into practice and tested as their truth or worth relative to any individual. Hence, many spirit souls pass through endless incarnations on any number of dimensions or worlds where only a glimpse, suspicion, or impression of God, freedom, and divine love arises. My question is there hope for such spirit souls? Will there ever come a time where such spirit souls will receive more than just a glimpse of God? Or are these endless incarnations that you're referring to truly endless?
They are endless, they are infinite, they are incomprehensible, they are mind-boggling, they are beyond the scope of a person's intelligence for the most part, but they're also the nature of the field of the universe. So we're talking about the universe, it's endless. See? The worlds within the universe, they are endless worlds. The dimensions that constitute the universe, from the visible to the invisible, from the audible to the inaudible, are endless, they're infinite, they are incomprehensible. Okay? And that's the nature of the infiniteness of life and existence. See? In other words, that's the nature of our source, because we are that. See? There's no difference between what the infinite is and what we are. See? So we need to go back to ourselves, see? As heart beings. See? The heart is the universe is the heart. So we need to know that we are the universe. We are the source of the universe. We are the effect of the universe. See? We are the spirit of the universe. We are the body of the universe. We are the mind of the universe. So we have to come to some degree of self-realization. And owning our existence and our reality. As beings who are part of the God, the goodness, the God, the spiritness, the soul, the intelligence, we are part of all of that. And we need to open more to that, see, be open to it, and ask for more of it in our case, which is what I was saying earlier, for those who have to sort of ask and open, even demand it under certain conditions. But to demand it means you must be willing to undergo certain transformations, see, to accommodate what it is that you want to have, what it is you need to become, what it is you need to do. You have to sometimes accommodate and facilitate that. Say, I'm willing to do this. Just give me a sign. Innermost being, show me a sign so that I know that I'm being guided in a certain way. Let me hear something, let me see something. And I'll give up more of what I'm doing to follow your signs, your guidance, so on. And sometimes somebody, if you're fortunate enough to find somebody who can show you what the guidance is exactly for yourself, then you have someone to confirm what your path is. And so in the spiritual world, we're talking about a path which is self-confirming, proving to you beyond a doubt that you're on the right path, seeing signs as they affect your family, as they affect you, they affect your work, they affect everything you do in a positive sense.
From chapter 53, you write, when the search for the is now through the many illusory stages and conditions of life, purification, self-discipline, progression, and ordinary self-realization has ceased, dissolved, or been obliterated or sacrificed, the splendidly absolute truth and simplicity of being isness as free spirit soul of itself is all that remains as it is. My question, so are you saying that when one stops searching, they will get closer to the light? And if so, how does stopping the search differ from just giving up? Does it differ?
Well, giving up is still searching. And giving up and having expectations and living from the point of view of self-otherness, that is part of the search. Stopping is still the search. Search is an ongoing process. It's an attitude that you're not who you are, that you're not where you are, in truth. You're not as you are, in truth. That things are imperfect, that things are not complete, things are not excellent. That is searching. That is a deliberate psychological egoic strategy of self-division. And so we need to get beyond that so that what it is becomes more obvious to us. So we need to not merely find peace, we need to assume peace as a beginning point, not an end point, or something to find at the end of the rainbow somewhere. You have to begin by peace now. You have to be in peace now. You have to live the way of peace now.